Hello, guys, and welcome back to our Monday podcast brought to you by the Coin Brothers. This is the Champions of Wellness podcast, and today's episode is going to be focused a little bit more on water. We did a water episode on the Figuring Out Friday podcast that kind of went over the different brands of water, where they're sourced from, how they've been processed, filtered, the packaging that they're being sold in. But this one is kind of gonna take a little bit more of a scientific and physics turn, if I may, and it's really gonna give you some good pointers of how you should really view water, especially as a network system or a biological network system in your body. And hopefully we can give you guys some good insight and some good recommendations for you to take home and to just better your overall health. And before we start, I'd like to give a very, very warm welcome to my good friend over here, Jonathan Lopez, and I'll let him introduce himself right now.
Thank you, Sahan. Thank you, Joshua, for inviting me today to the Champions podcast. I'm excited to get deeper into what water it really is, right, and not just a solvent, right? Just a background, but more of a power, right? Power and energy into our life. Just a little about myself. I am a Temple student here in Philadelphia, and I'm studying biochemistry, also with genomic medicine, and I hope to pursue a future degree in medicine. I hope to go to medical school, hopefully in 2 years. So right now I'm currently studying for an MCAT, taking biochemistry, and just enjoying the college life. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, guys, Jonathan's a very, very smart student, and we thought, why not? He would be a very good add-on. And I think since we are kind of in the holistic realm, I think it's going to give him a really good perspective, especially as someone going into medicine, how to maybe think about different concepts that he's learning, or maybe approach things differently so he can ask the right questions and overall become a very, very good practitioner that can help many, many people to come, just like me and my brother are striving to do for you guys as well.
Yeah, and maybe in the future following podcasts, we can see more of John relaying some more information that he has and everything in the future. You never know, you could be seeing him again. And we're just kind of shedding some light on water, which is a big part of our life, and as you know, we're 70% water, so it's crucial.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way we kind of want to go about this podcast is to shed light on how you should view water and the different environmental impacts that can affect water. So what usually we're taught as far as the health standpoint when it comes to water is that you need to drink adequate amounts of water every day according to different measures, like maybe your height, your body weight, your calorie needs, or your activity needs. And then you're also recommended to drink or consume a decent amount of electrolytes. And there's a specific ratio for the electrolytes, which is usually comprised of the four main ones, which is sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. And outside of that, that's pretty much what you're told affects water and optimizes the way water is used in your body. But new research and new information is constantly being put out behind the physics of water, and how there's actually a lot of different concepts as far as electricity and magnetism and light that play crucial factors into water that you people listening may have never heard about before. And what we really want to do is kind of give light to you guys of what is really going on from a physics standpoint and make it understandable to you so that you can take the right measures in order to help yourself be healthy lively and youthful and just full of energy. We have a couple comments so far. Justin, you want to read them or?
Yeah, from one of our guests that we had on one of our podcasts, Diego Murillo. He says, "What an amazing group of young men! Love today's topic. Can't wait for an intake on it." And he also said, "Cristiano Ronaldo, the best athlete in the world, says he only drinks water. How accurate is that? And should it be the only thing I drink?"
I would say
John,
yes. For what were you gonna say,
John? What do you think about that question?
So Cristiano Ronaldo, yeah, I mean, we're not gonna go about that, but the important theme right now is the water. So drinking water, yes, it's the power. It's the power to drink water. Right, 70% of our body, like Josh said, is water. But I think there should be a mix of water, electrolytes, right? Getting your dairy in through milk, right? It should be a mix of that. No added sugars, though, of course. So water should be your main priority of intake. Yeah.
Yeah, and ideally mineralized water, so you can get those added minerals or trace elements to add to your whole electrolyte balance. And for the other two comments from SEOF products, water is H2O, right? 11 hydrogen and 2 oxygen. I think you answered your question in the first one, H2O. So that's 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen, not 11.
Yeah.
And today we'll be talking about H3O2. So we'll learn more about that later in the podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. John, do you want to kind of go into like what we've been taught about water as far as like a classical view and maybe what you've learned in chemistry class about the properties of water?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I think everyone has taken the basic biology classes in high school. And since the beginning, we've been taught since 9th grade, 8th grade, whenever we got this class, right, that water is a solvent, right? The solvent that is all in our body, right? That dissolves, that transports, right? And this is through the process of the polar molecules that water create, right? We're not going to go too deep into that, but water is a polar molecule that breaks the main priorities and the main functions of our body through hydrogen bonding. And this hydrogen bonding does occur, I think, around 10 to the negative 12 bonds per second. And that's how quick that water can dissolve issues, right? And we were mainly seeing water as just like the background of our body, right? That water just it's kind of like the bus, right? The bus that just takes everything, right? And water through hydrogen bonding, through weak and temporary breaking, we get to see water as more of a cohesive project as well. So I think that's one of the biggest things that we get to see in how important water is in our life, right? The classical view of it.
Yeah, and we're also going to get into how water doesn't only store energy but also can disperse it in many ways.
Yeah, and also to add on like what we've been taught about the classical view, like John said, water is seen as the main solvent or medium in which everything in our body happens. And it kind of has been seen as like serving a passive role more than an active role, and also a physics role. Pretty much when you think of water, you just think of it as the medium in which all of these other processes happen. Of course, you get to learn why water is unique and why water is very life-giving through all of evolution and things like that. But you really don't understand its role in electricity, magnetism, and light, which are 3 of the main things that I think are neglected, especially in the healthcare world, because I think the way physicians or medical doctors manage disease is by fighting the chemical battle. And what I think the problem is with that is because they haven't taken the chance to go one step deeper into the physics of the body and of biology and what is going on at the atomic level. because at the atomic level, we have all of these processes that have been put in place through evolution, through our environment, that are being neglected and that are actually being harmed in today's day and age through means that you guys might not be aware of. But basically, today's day and age is setting us up for more failure and more disease when it comes to our environment in terms of physics. So that is something I would like physicians to kind of pay more attention to instead of fighting the chemical battle, because I've seen, and I know my father has seen plenty and plenty of time that medication can only suppress symptoms. Of course, it serves a role and has served a very impactful role in medicine, but I feel like that it doesn't really address the root cause, which can be explained by the physics.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And going to your part about the energy part of how water wasn't always seen as energy, we were taught like cellular respiration is the main focus is through glucose, right? But we can also see that water, when we get deeper into conversation, how water is also important in the power of creating energy, right? So I think that's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and to add on to that, what is seen also in the classical perspective as far as energy creation is the creation of ATP through glycolysis and the systems in the mitochondria. So the Krebs cycle and oxidative phosphorylation. But like John said, these are breaking down your food into electrons and protons through those processes. But that kind of gives a hyper focus to food. And the thing about that is that you can actually become very energy efficient and make your mitochondria super efficient when you take control of managing your environment correctly. So what I mean by that is think of a motor or a car motor that needs to take a bunch of fuel to have energy. But if you have a higher quality motor, that motor can use its fuel much more efficiently. So for like it's comparing like a V8 engine to like a hybrid car. You get what is it? Sometimes even 35 to 40 miles per gallon with the hybrid car, but with the V8 engine, you only get maybe like 10 to 15 miles per gallon. So imagine you keeping on filling your gas tank with food, but instead you could implement just a few interventions that we're going to share with you to increase the efficiency of your car engine or your body system.
Yeah,
which is I think a view that not a lot of people have really talked about or discussed that concept before.
Yeah,
and
I
all
feel
these
like
things are all these things are really simple that you can do. Like it can be as little as waking up in the morning, getting your daily sunlight, and then later in the day getting cold exposure and exposing yourself to a dark room so that you can set your circadian rhythm. These things are really important, and also even just drinking more water as well. And another thing that people are like we're taught every day is there's the three stages of water: solid, liquid, gas. Well, another state we'll talk about today is easy water or the exclusion zone water, which is also called structured water. And it also has a crystallized structure. If you think about snowflakes, if you can see very closely, all of them are structured kind of crystallized in a crystallized way. That's what you're kind of thinking of like, and it's kind of like a gel-like consistency.
Yeah, exactly.
Also,
And I feel like going into like the more like healthcare part of it, like many people always are like, all right, I'm going to start doing eating this and eating that, right? And I'm going to be doing this, right? Like they kind of like complicate it, right? And I think it's very important to like stay focused on the simple parts of how we could produce more energy, and how can we be better efficient in our life, right? And it comes through first, of course, getting enough water, right? And like Josh mentioned, getting enough sun, right? The infrared light going into you and helping your circadian rhythm, right? And from there, we start seeing differences in our energy level throughout the day and not just crashing out so much, right? because I feel like people are so consumed on just eating like this certain food or this modified food, right? And just overcomplicating our body from there.
Yeah, and you're only when you're getting the sunlight, people think UV radiation, you're damaging your body, but over time you're just charging your battery for energy that you need to use during the day. And oh yeah, we also have another question from the chat. How can I ensure my water is safe to drink?
I would say go check out the Friday podcast we did about water. We went very, very deep into explanation about that on there, and I think
Yeah,
we
we
covered
talked,
almost every single kind of category of water brand that you can think of. So check out that podcast.
Yeah, but the main thing is make sure you're drinking water out of glass or something like that to avoid microplastics, and also making sure you're getting it from something that's regulated. Don't get water from just like a well or like just some random tap that's not filtered. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And you introduced exclusion zone water. Do you guys want to talk a little bit more about that? And Joshin, can you pull up the image that we have?
Yeah. So when Son first talked to me about the topic of water, I was like, okay, we're gonna talk about water. It's not too much to talk about, but when I started doing more research into water, I started reading about the exclusion zone, right? And the exclusion zone was first made, first hypothesized by Gerald Pollack. He was a biophysics who actually studied at UPenn. He got his PhD at UPenn.
Oh, he did at UPenn?
Yeah, he got his PhD at UPenn, and then he's now teaching at Washington, right?
UW, okay. Got it.
Washington right now, in Seattle, right? So he first discovered this fourth phase of water, which is called the exclusion zone. And how it works is when water gets to a hydrophilic surface. Hydrophilic surface is meaning like water loving, right? And that can be anywhere in our body, right? It's around our cells, around our connective tissues. It's around mitochondria. And think of it mainly as majority of our interior cells is where hydrophilic surfaces are, right? And because of this, what happens here is that it creates this separation of water molecules, right, from positive ions to negative ions, and in between there we can see what is an exclusion zone, right? And exclusion zone, when we think of battery charging, right, we think of a negative charge and a positive charge. The negative charge is transferring electricity to the positive charge, right? And in here we can see how this exclusion zone can also be supported by the same reason how a negative charge can go into a positive charge, creating a battery-like system. And how we first talked about the classical view of water is more just of a background, right? And going to the same analogy, how water could be like a bus, right? And it's just riding around the bus. But now we can see through the exclusion zone, it's not just a bus, but it's more of riding the bus, right? It's more creating energy, right? And creating this separation of negative to positive charge, creating a battery-like system. And that's how important water is from there.
Yeah, and I also, me and John were talking about it like for a good bit before the podcast and in the preparation leading up to it, and I was really fascinated by the concept, because if you think of what you need for a battery, you need those differences in charges so that you can have flow of electrons. And the difference in charge, like John said, from positive and negative, that facilitates that flow of electrons. And so one might think, why is the fact that you have a battery-like system in your body important? And my answer to that is that pretty much is telling you that you have kind of like this untapped, or I wouldn't say untapped, but this new concept that you can kind of take and implement into your own life. So what this means by your body actually being a biological battery, it means that the food or the energy that you have, which is usually from electrons or protons, these can be channeled throughout all of your body systems, through just these basic concepts of physics. And if we look into energy systems, such as with the mitochondria on like the cellular level, a concept like proton tunneling really comes into play when we think about this. And proton tunneling is pretty much the tunneling of the protons due to the conductivity in your cell's water systems. So what that means, like on a more relatable level, is the fact that you have a battery like this, and the fact that you can take some interventions to better your environment, to better your battery, the more efficient you can be, or the more lively and energetic and disease-free you can be. So the fact that you have a battery, you got to take care of it, pretty much. You got to take care of it, and you got to feed the battery the right ingredients so that it's optimized to its fullest potential. And there are a lot of things in today's age that put your battery at a lower efficiency. And we're going to tell you in a bit today what you can do to bring your body's internal battery up to optimal efficiency.
Yeah, and I feel like just going to like that analogy and how we talked about it shouldn't just be like glucose, right? And we're not saying that we're substituting, of course, food for water, right? But we're more saying how water can enhance our activity and our production level and our energy level with the inclusion of good food, right? And that's an important topic, that the overall theme, right, of how water can really create this good battery in our body, right, creating this positive energy. So
And
Yeah,
also,
think of
how you can feed your battery, like San was talking about, is getting exposure to infrared light. Infrared light can be absorbed by the exclusion zone water, and also be dispersed throughout your body, so that you can do functions like taking a walk, like even breathing, like having responses to certain things. Like everyday activities are involved with absorbing the infrared light you need to power your body.
And if I can give you guys two little facts from a couple studies. One was by where is it from Gavin Publishers, and the other one was from PMC. What they actually found as far as the exclusion zone is that some studies suggest that healthy tissues exhibit more ordered or structured water than inflamed or cancerous tissues. So if we think about modern disease and modern epidemics, we think of chronic issues more than infectious issues. And if we have inflamed or cancerous tissues as something that can be combated or helped with by expanding our exclusion zone, why would we not take those measures and precautions to do so? Because this is pretty much saying the more you can expand your exclusion zone, the better your battery can work, your internal battery work. And the better your internal battery work, that makes you so much less susceptible to things like inflamed tissues or cancerous tissues, which ultimately leads the body to death and disease. And then the other one that I pulled here was about a study that found that agents known to promote health increased exclusion zone water size, while damaging agents reduced it. And that pretty much means that folks who have taken measures like exercising, eating well, maybe getting some sunlight, doing all of the things that are conventionally healthy, those activities actually have shown to increase exclusion zone water size, while more health detrimental activities like a sedentary lifestyle, lots of EMF or blue light exposure, especially late in the night, all of those things that are generally or conventionally known to decrease your overall health, those actually decrease your exclusion zone size. So you guys can kind of see the correlation between exclusion zone size and overall health of a person.
And
Yeah,
also
it's interesting. Oh, sorry, Josh, you go.
And
Oh,
also, San was talking about expanding your exclusion zone. How you can expand your exclusion zone is having infrared light exposure. And one experiment that Dr. Pollock did was he ran water through a tube, and the water that was charged with or charged with the infrared light versus the water that was not charged with infrared light traveled 5 times faster down the tube. So you can see how it can increase bodily, or not just bodily functions, but the function of water overall. It can speed up the process, but also help with motor functions and things like that.
yeah, that's very interesting how this exclusion zone is a correlation causing a lot of energy production and how we feel through our day and how we can actually be a direct a positive factor to the exclusion zone, right? Like through how Hassan said, infrared lights, being more active throughout the day, and reducing the screen time that a lot of us are a victim to, right? And especially the blue light at night, which can like decrease the exclusion zone and making your productivity less. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, and if you're sitting there late at night on your phone, you just know that you're reducing your exclusion zone, which can overall decrease all your daily activities that you're trying to do the next day, and also disrupting your circadian rhythm, where you're not getting melatonin, you're spiking cortisol where later in the day you're not supposed to, and you're trying to rest and relax. And also a comment from the chat, I love this special guest. I feel like he's talking to me on a personal level. What a way to explain things and go into detail. And another person in the chat, Ferris, he said, I completely agree. And also, how does the light decrease the exclusion zone? Is it about photons?
So that concept, I don't know if I have that like fully understood yet, but of course it depends on the type of light um that you're getting. So if you're getting sunlight and infrared light, like Joshin said, that is something that's going to increase your exclusion zone. I think it has to do with other factors as well that are part of the whole water and biological battery system. And that has to play more into like physics rules. And one of the concepts is band gap energy. I think when you are intaking much more infrared light, you're increasing your band gap width, and that is what's going to ultimately increase your exclusion zone. And the reason you want to increase your exclusion zone is because if you don't have enough of that negatively charged zone, you cannot facilitate a fast enough flow of electrons or protons in the current. Does that make sense? Like if I have, like, you know how you have two magnets that like oppose each other, like if you don't have a strong enough negative magnet, that's not gonna be able to facilitate the flow of electrons and protons. um Hold on, I'm losing my train of thought. That's not going to be able to facilitate the flow of electrons and protons as efficiently, because you're ultimately just going to have a weak battery. But as far as that one, I think we would have to clear that question up on the next episode. But as for now, we know definitely that getting in increased infrared light expands the exclusion zone.
Yeah,
And
and if I could add on to that, Sahan. So I remember reading a passage while doing research on this is the effect on radiant energy on near surf water, and it was also written by Pollack, and it talked about how so answering the question on the comment and how energy might how certain light may decrease the exclusion zone. I think it's well, I don't think, but this is what the Pollack said is that different wavelengths may affect the exclusion zone. So having the correct light is what leads to like a increase or a decrease in the exclusion zone, and
Okay,
as
yeah.
well as the heat. So the correct heat and the correct temperature, as we know, similarly to how enzymes work, right? Which is a different topic, but the enzymes work through different heat temperatures, and this increase of heat, a certain amount of heat, can denature enzymes. But and it's similar to here to how the exclusion zone also works.
Yeah, I just looked at just now. It says pretty much like you said, by providing electromagnetic energy that organizes water molecules into sorry, I should say this. Sunlight increases exclusion zone water by providing electromagnetic energy that organizes water molecules into a negatively charged structured state next to hydrophilic surfaces. Okay, so this makes the conversation even deeper and even more interesting. So now that it's saying sunlight is pretty much telling your cells and your water cells how to arrange or organize themselves. So the more sunlight you get and the correct sunlight you get, that's bringing more order and coherence to the way your body's water is organized. So that's something I remember learning about, but I forgot to pay more focus and attention to. But that's like that gives even another rabbit hole of information down to the importance of sunlight, because from this is pretty much saying that sunlight and the light we get is sending us messages or environmental messages to make sure that our body is in line with our environment and is up to optimal health, which I think is really good. Yeah, we got a triple thumbs up from MP4 Change. I hope that cleared it up. And that's that's like a really important key. So like think of sunlight as like, and Jack Cruz, which is the neurosurgeon that we keep mentioning on this podcast a lot, he said to kind of see sunlight and the specific sunlight you get like a movie projector. So the rays that you get from sunlight, you're not really seeing that information pass by, but when the movie projector, like you guys been in a movie theater, right? You guys are sitting watching the movie this way, and then you have the projector that's all the way in the back that's having a light beam coming out and then pasting onto a screen, which is the movie screen right in front of you. And Jack Cruz said to think of the sun as the same way. You can't really see, all you see is that light beam hitting the screen. You wouldn't be able to tell that there's all of this information stored in that little light ray going onto the movie screen. But the same concept pretty much applies to the sunlight you get. Your body has biological movie screens in place that the sunlight is connecting to, and then that's dictating how all of your other metabolic processes are going on as well. So that puts extra emphasis on optimizing your environment. Because say I'm getting light that is not reflective of my external environment or is artificial, that means that's throwing off my movie screens. That I'm not playing the right movie, like pretty much. I'm playing someone else's movie or a fake movie. And that's a concept I think we're gonna get into with later podcasts, but that's something you really need to know, that information is stored in light and many other places that you really don't realize.
And I also wanted to say, like, a simple example. We're all athletes, and we all perform high level athletic performance. Like John still does play high level soccer, and we did earlier in our life. And I've noticed that when I've played inside versus outside, I've noticed a big difference, or not a big difference, but I've noticed a significant difference in my energy level. And you can feel that your body's warming up when you're exposed to the sunlight, as well as being hydrated. Those two things together work simultaneously for your energy. And I think that if everybody just has just a couple, even just like 30 minutes of daily activity outside, they can better their energy for the rest of the day. And I'm sure you guys have good experience from from that aspect, because when I played futsal versus when I played, which is inside, versus when I played outdoor, I had a much better experience with my energy when I played outside.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. I've noticed sometimes the sun has put like, I guess like when it's a really hot day, then it might be much harder to play. But I definitely, especially since experimenting with light exposure and early morning sun gazing, I definitely have like noticed the difference.
What do you think? What about you, John? What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like the importance now of as is it's getting colder and the sun's going down quicker. I feel like the importance is like for me, as I have a busy schedule, and I try to always, if I'm busy in the afternoon and I won't make it home in time before the sun goes down, I try to wake up early and get some sunlight, either to running or going on a walk in the morning, right, or just going outside and just looking out at the sun, right. And I think it's very important, just like to overall start my day. I can see a big difference from when I go outside in the morning, drink a glass of water, right, and just go look outside the sun, right, and the difference from when I don't, right, I just get up, go straight to class. I'm barely out in the sun all day. My mood changes dramatically, and from there, that really expresses how important the sun is and how important water is, right. So because even with water, right, as soon as I wake up, if I drink a good glass of water, like I feel like my day, like I just feel so much more productive. And we
Yeah,
all see like the influencers like post, wake up and drink a glass of water, and it's really important to be consistent with that. And I think it's about setting yourself up the day before, right? So I don't know if anyone read the Atomic Habits book, right? And that book is very famous on the little micro scales that you can make the difference on your life. So, for example, if you want to drink a gold glass of water, then set up that water the night before, right? And drink that water today in the morning, right? If you want to go outside in the morning, make sure you have a hoodie ready before you go outside the night before. So it's setting up those little changes in your life that can help you overall improve your energy as well.
Yeah,
yeah,
because
and I noticed.
preparation is pretty much makes things so much easier. It adds order to everything, and it holds you accountable because um imagine prepare like imagine going into something without preparation. I think preparation for anything literally determines how far you can be successful with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and with the preparation as well. In high school, I felt like I was charging my battery with drinking. I usually drank 4 bottles of water before a high school game because I felt like without it, I didn't feel that energy inside my body to have run for 90 minutes. And like throughout the day, every time I had a game, I would charge that battery by drinking and staying hydrated. And we have another question from the chat from Celia. What if I live in a bad environment like Kensington and Philadelphia? How can I maximize the benefits of where I live?
Um, yeah, you can definitely do a few things. It depends on if you have access to an area that has not a lot of power lines running through it, because that's going to mess up with your grounding. And grounding, which is another concept and another thing that can add to enhancing or optimizing your overall environment. The what grounding pretty much does, it literally gives you like free energy. What happens is the sun is pretty much like, and I'm gonna go into a little bit of physics terms with this. The sun is a cathode ray, which is pretty much stands for the negative charge, hitting the anode, an anode, which is the Earth. So you have the sun, which is the cathode ray, and that hits the Earth. And when that happens, there's a significant flow of energy, and you can harness that energy through grounding. And grounding is pretty much connecting with the Earth with your eccrine sweat glands, which are in your palms and in your the soles of your feet. So what you do is you can pretty much do this at any point in the day. I feel like it's easier to do it in the morning, because then you have the morning dew. The importance about having the morning dew is that the water makes it much easier when harnessing the electrons from the ground. So that's what you kind of want to also add in when you ground. So be on like have your feet a little or hands a little bit moist before doing it. In Kensington, I'm sure it's probably it's in Philly, so it's a lot of urban type of setting. So I would say try to go to a park, a clean park with like no not a lot of dog piss, because you don't want to be grounding on a on grass that's been pissed by like 100 dogs. So
Yeah,
find like a kind of like a clean park nearby. If there is, maybe you might have to put a little bit of effort and go to a different spot to go grounding, but you can do that, or you can invest in something called a grounding mat. I don't know how effective it is, but I know it can help because all you do is plug it into like your outlet. But you know how there's you have the outlet, then you have the two lines here, and then you have the one dot in the bottom. That bottom one is for the grounding. That's the grounding outlet. So you just plug it into there, and supposedly it grounds that mat for you, and then that helps you ground. So I would maybe see or try to invest in something like that. And then I think the most practical tip I could give you though is to just get up and see the morning sun pretty much, like as it's waking.
And you can just go around, have a walk in the morning, maybe even to your class at school. Like if you have a class in the morning, just go for that morning walk to your class, and you're obviously going to get sunlight. And also your body runs on tiny electrical charges. So, and the earth has a negative charge. So when you're grounding, you're up.
Wait, did I have the opposite? Earth is negative and
no, you said that.
No, I think I said.
No, he said the opposite. He said
I said the opposite.
Yeah, the negative charge, and then there's the positive charge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, the way you interact with these environmental factors, like the earth as well as the sun, is very important when it comes to regulating your energy.
Wait, hold on. I just want to clear it up. Cathode is negative, so our Earth is anode, which is positive. Just to clear that up.
Okay, yeah. And also the positive charge that you're uptaking with the Earth is communicating with the negative charge of the structured water. So
no, it's the electrons you're getting. Like the fact that that's why like the physics concepts are a bit more complicated. Mm-hmm. So it's like not really you're uptaking electrons, but the fact that the cathode ray is hitting an anode, that's pretty much giving way for like electrical conduction. So the movement of electrons, and then when you have that energy movement, you're able to uptake it if you ground correctly. Just to clear that up.
So if you're grounding, you're uptaking all the electrons for
electrons. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think going back to the question that she was asking about what can she do when she's in an urban city, right? Like that. It's also not just what can you do, but it's also what you can limit. So eliminate like the blue light and try to limit like the bad things around you. So you can only control as much as you can, right? But what you can do, just do as much as you can with it, right? So and another part that I don't know if Josh mentioned is like the cold plunging, right? And how the cold plunge can actually expand the EZ zone, and how that actually benefits, and how we always see that as well in a big social media world of taking cold showers, right? And I'm very a firm believer in how taking a really cold shower, like in not just in the morning, but like in the afternoon, could really benefit you for more productivity. Yeah.
Have you noticed like the difference when you have a hot shower and cold shower? I know that I like my hot showers, but like from experience, what do you think, like the difference?
Oh, I really see like the difference. I personally, like, as it's getting colder, it's like you fall more into like accustomed to just take a hot shower, right? But I'm really a firm believer in taking a cold shower, and when I do take a cold shower, it's just like a spike of energy, just wakes me up, right? And there's so much things that go to it, right? Why you have a cold shower, and how can that shock your body, making you feel um more energized, and that can go you can go into your sympathetic nervous system and how that really affects you, but also including in this electric exclusion zone, how this expands it overall, leading to more productivity. So I really do see a big difference when I
Mhm.
have a cold plunge or
Yeah, and
And
even a
I
cold
also,
shower.
it also goes with like wrapping up the day where you want cold exposure. Say if you have a hard day at work, you go back home and have a cold shower. You're exposing yourself to cold, and then going to sleep in a dark room, which is definitely going to aid in spiking your melatonin and also like winding down.
yeah, so like another yeah, so get the morning sun, try to find a clean area to ground in. That's like pretty much like I would just say wherever you can find clean grass, that's where you should go ground. Um then like John said also there's a lot of things that we can add but also limit. So as far as limit, you want to limit uh EMF exposure and blue light exposure, especially late in the day when you want to get your rest and optimal sleep. So that would kind of entail like if you have any outlets that are nearby, don't have anything plugged in. I have a really big computer right next to my bed, so what I do is I unplug it and turn it off completely before I go to sleep, and then I also kind of set my phone not so close to my head. I know everyone has their phone really close to their head because they want to have their alarm ready, or it's just out of natural habit because people usually go to sleep with like right after getting done whatever watching a video on their phone or texting on their phone. They're just very easy just set it on the side. I would recommend setting it like kind of on a nightstand or on a table on the opposite side of the room, and just crank up your alarm like really loud so that you don't miss it in the morning. But at least throughout the night, you're not having EMF exposure right close to your head, which is
Yeah.
not good.
And another example that I've actually said before on another podcast, I used to play video games a lot, like late at night, very late to like maybe like regular it's like 12 o'clock or like maybe even 2 o'clock. And after I would get off the game and sit in my bed, I would have trouble falling asleep because of the blue light exposure and the way that your body's supposed to work. And I really noticed that like staying away from blue light later in the day. I know we're on a podcast online right now, but we're gonna do our best to avoid it, but like a couple hours before we go to sleep. So making sure that you're avoiding blue light exposure, especially like Solon said with the phone next to your face, is definitely not aiding in your sleep and recovery.
Yeah, I see a big difference when like I go to sleep on my phone looking at YouTube videos or doom scrolling, right? And then I have trouble sleeping. But when I do turn off my phone, like even if like people say an hour before, and it's so hard to do that, but even like starting off simple with like 10 to 15 minutes before you get off your phone, just put your phone like a little far from your bed, right? Put the timer, and then maybe read, right? And like I really emphasize like the reading part, because the reading part just calms your brain to start relaxing, to get into to sleeping mode, right? And I sleep so much better. I feel the next day like I can remember my dreams. I can wake up with with more energy, and it's really nice to like see that. And I recommend anyone who's here like listening to try it out, right? To start off small, 15 minutes off your phone, right? Let me put my phone away. Let me read. Let me um let me try to be
Yeah,
productive the next day, right? And it's about preparation, how we go back to. And it's also very nice because when I do have to wake up the next day and my phone is far from me, it forces me to get up, right? And that's
yeah.
how we're going back to preparation, how important it is to start your day off the night before, right? So
Yeah, and like that winding down, when you read, you actually like you're calming your brain down a little more, and getting better sleep is easier because you're falling asleep faster. And also, it's not bad to learn anything. You're probably learning something new by reading as well. And oh, also, San just was drinking out of a glass bottle as well. Yeah.
Yeah, this glass.
I like that.
I don't know. I thought it was like a cool looking. It was like from some sparkling lemonade, but I was like, pretty cool bottle. I can like it has a nice, satisfying flip open sound, and definitely after the water podcast, I was carrying this around school, like not using like other plastic bottles. Even though we do get Fiji water, I would always like pour it or transfer it into this glass bottle because if I leave this in the car, I don't have to worry about leaching of like microplastics and stuff. And you can all see that info on that other water podcast we did.
Yeah, just simple. Like if you buy boxes of water, make sure you're not exposing it to like high heat, which can promote leaching. And you probably just if you have to have the plastic water bottles, just throw them in the fridge, and maybe keep them in a cool environment so that you can avoid having consumed microplastics.
Yeah, and I feel like in this day of world, it's so hard to avoid the microplastic. Right? We see it everywhere, like the manufacturing that happens. But I think, like how we said, like we could only do so much what we have, and what we have is just do your best with it, right? So trying to avoid that hot plastic water bottle, right? That has been stored already probably for so long before you even reach your house. So we're really emphasizing the glass water, right?
Yeah, and don't drink water that's been sitting in the car for many hours on end. Even though you're like say you're thirsty after a workout, waiting 10 more minutes to get home is a little better than just drinking that hot water that's leached of microplastics.
Yeah, and I think the things that you guys are mentioning are all pointing to things that you can change in your environment. Whether you kind of like it or not, you have control over your environment to a certain extent. Of course, it depends on location, so where you live, what is surrounding you, but there are so many things that you can do to kind of better your environment for your body, such as like what we said with getting in the sunlight, grounding, getting enough water, eating healthy whole foods, taking cold showers, doing all of those things. Those are interventions that are going to help better the environment for your body, and then the better you can make your environment, the more optimized your body is going to be for overall health. And I also want to mention something that Jack Cruz and RFK said on their podcast. They said that epidemics are not genetic. They're always from environmental toxins, and a lot of people think or blame modern, especially chronic epidemics for genetic related reasons. But if you trace it back, a lot of it has to do with environmental toxins that were introduced by the industrial age, industrial revolution, things like that. Many of the things that all the higher ups are implementing now that are actually not so good for the people. And I just want to tell you guys to kind of wake up and realize what is going on and affecting you, because you might not be aware of it, but some people are, and they're taking advantage of it for I would say more nefarious reasons.
Mm-hmm. And there's also a comment from the chat. What electrolytes do you recommend taking? I personally we've talked about it on the recent podcast, but I recommend you take something that has sodium, potassium, magnesium, and also calcium involved in the electrolyte tablet. If you have any electrolyte tablets, even today, I've been taking my electrolyte tablets for the last couple weeks, and I've noticed in my trainings that I felt way more energy than I used to, because I'm remineralizing my body with the electrolytes that are being excreted through urine or things like that, because of maybe caffeine I drink earlier in the day. So just making sure you have electrolytes with all those certain minerals that I just named is very crucial.
Yeah, and I also think a lot of people, if you're an athlete, you should definitely consume high higher amounts of electrolytes, which usually are found in those electrolyte packets. But if you're just going about if you're just someone who is not very active as far as like athletics, or you do work out, but it's not to the extent or to the extremity of an athlete, there's this thing called mineralized salt that my mom put me on, and it's pretty much like regular salt, but it has added concentrations of the other electrolytes besides sodium. So what you get with sodium is just what you get with regular table salt is just the sodium and chloride ions, but also they add in salts that carry the calcium, magnesium, and potassium as well. So I think implement or adding like a pinch of that, or putting like a pinch of that on like right under your tongue, because apparently that's like a better spot for absorption, or it increases absorption. Just doing that like in the morning should be well enough. You don't have to go crazy on getting all of these different electrolyte packets or electrolyte things. If you just get that mineralized salt, put a pinch on it under your tongue, that's like good enough for the day.
Yeah.
Or like throughout the day, a few times throughout the day.
Yeah, or even have your water bottle that you carry throughout the day. Just add a little pinch of salt, Himalayan pink salt, or whatever, the mineral salt that Sam was just referring to. It could really aid in the energy that you feel throughout the day. And I feel like I'm speaking through experience as well. Like I've noticed a big difference.
Yeah, and I feel like I see a lot of people who really try to make it difficult, and they get these different type of electrolytes, right? And they don't realize how much sugar it has, right? How much added sugar it has, and they don't realize that it's like, oh, a big brand, right? For example, like Gatorade has these electrolytes, and they're like, oh, very electric electrolytes that will help you get hydrated. But then you don't realize, if you don't read the back, or if you can't read the nutrition facts, it has like 60% added sugar of your daily value, right? So it's very important to keep it very simple, which is a big topic and big theme of this podcast.
Yeah, definitely. And then another thing that I think kind of adds to the whole concept, like kind of circling back to what we talked about with the battery, the biological battery. There's another concept with water, which is deuterium depleted water. And what that pretty much is deuterium is an isotope of water, which has an added neutron. And what that does on the atomic scale is that it actually makes it heavier because of that added neutron compared to protium, which is the isotope of hydrogen that only has just the one proton with no neutron. So deuterium again is hydrogen with one proton and one neutron, and then protium is the one with just one proton and no neutron. And what that really does is it affects you because that kind of slows down the battery. That added atomic mass slows the efficiency and the flow of electrons. So that system or that ATP generating system in the mitochondria is not as efficient. It's like operating on what is it? Now I'm thinking of another analogy. It's like when you go to the gas pump and you get premium versus like regular. Like getting the regular would be more of the water with the deuterium isotope, and if you get deuterium depleted water, it's going to run much nicer, smoother, and much more efficiently because it's not going to slow down the proton tunneling, which is what's going to generate energy for your body.
Yeah, and it's just like, for example, if you want to do a race, right? 100% you could do a better running time when you feel lighter, right? When you have like a lighter body weight, and it's the same with this glycolysis process that you were mentioning, like using ATP with water, right? That if you have this H2O, so the deuterium, right, then the energy source can go quicker, right, and produce more energy, and that's a really important topic that we should talk about. But Sahan, how do you avoid this deuterium water
So there's two things that you can do. Places that are known to have less or excuse me, that are known to have more deuterium depleted water are waters in springs that are found in very high altitudes. So you would have to go see or buy water from a spring that is located in a very high altitude. The one that we ranked the highest on our water podcast was Mountain Valley Spring Water and the Gerolsteiner water. I don't know the altitude of those specific springs, but I would have to do more research into that. But if you can find a water bottle company that sources their water from a spring in high altitude, that'll be really good. Another thing that you can do that I just heard, and I don't actually know the mechanism behind it, is supplementing with iodine. I don't remember exactly how this helped, but it actually had multiple benefits because it also competes with fluoride in the thyroid, so it can help with combating any issues with increased fluoride, and then it also can help with managing deuterium depleted water. Because another thing about that water episode that was really important was fluoride content, and how governments in the U.S. like added fluoride into the system for supposedly enamel health. But we actually are now seeing like the negative impacts of fluoride and fluoride toothpaste and things like that. But I heard that iodine, when taken in just adequate amounts, not over supplementing it, when you're taking it in the right amounts, can be actually very beneficial.
And also where you can get iodine as well. We've actually talked about this on one of our podcasts before. Is seafood, things like shellfish, lobster, clams, things like that are very rich in iodine and DHA minerals, which can aid in preventing or counteracting deuterium water as well as fluoride.
Oh, we got a comment from the chat. How much water should be consumed per day? I think for the average person, it's probably around
2 liters.
Two. I would say like we learned it in liters, like around like 2 to 3 liters, some maybe 4, like depending on how big you are, or pretty much how big you are. And when you think of gallons, you usually think of like a gallon per day. That's why people, or especially athletes, carry around like that gallon of water every single day.
Yeah, and one of our podcast friends, Mike, he has I might get this too. He has a big bottle, a big bottle that he carries around all day. It's a full gallon, and he just refills it, and he has it during the day to nighttime, and that way he can track how much water he's consuming and making sure that he's drinking enough. So if you have something to measure it, that will make it a lot more easier on the mind and like thought free, and just like having something like that. I'm definitely gonna invest in one.
Yeah, and then going back to that question, it also really depends on one, your body weight, and also two, like how strong is your activity level. And then supposedly another one is also your altitude, like where you stand like compared to like the how high you are to the ocean level. But that's more specific. But the main two are the activity and your body weight, right? And a good scale from that we see many times people say online is your urine, right? And checking your urine to see, because that's how your kidneys dilute the water, dilute the urea in your body, right? So if you have more concentrated urine, it means you are, of course, you're more dehydrated, right? And then if you should aim for more like a pale yellowish color, right? Not too clear, but not too concentrated. So it really depends, and your urine is a prime example on how much water you should be drinking.
And that's like that's like the easiest telltale test of if you're hydrated or not. You just go take a leak real quick and then see the color of it. If it's pale yellow, or even if it's clear, then at least you know you're well hydrated and you don't have to get any more water until a little bit. But yeah, if it's a little bit darker color and maybe it smells a little bit, then you gotta drink some more water.
Yeah, your body's telling you like a sign. Your body tells you all these signs so that you can fix them, and just kind of listening to your body is what we're trying to tell you to do.
And yeah, let me see. We just talked about deuterium, depleted water. Oh, another thing, potassium actually serves a really, really important role because the concentration and also the orientation of potassium ions influence how your water molecules align. Kind of like comparing it to the concept when we talked about how light dictates how structured or coherent your water is, aka like how big of the exclusion zone your body is able to make with the water. Potassium also has like a similar influence because it influences how the water molecules align, and that thereby influences something called the band gap energy and free electron availability. And I'll just explain that concept of band gap energy really quick. Pretty much, if you go back to your like chemistry one or your high school chemistry, you know that an element has electrons, protons and electrons, and neutrons as well. So those are the main types of subatomic particles that you have. And the electrons, pretty much when we think of energy, the main ones that we're focusing on are protons and electrons because those carry electrical current or charges. Better, yeah, I think charges is the better word. But when we think about energy, or especially band gap energy, we're focusing on those valence electrons, or those electrons in the outer shell. So we have the inner shells, and then we have the outer shell, and then we have electrons on those outer shells based on the number of the element. And that pretty much, or what the band gap energy is the energy to take that valence electron from the valence band. So that valence shell is also called the valence band. It's the energy that excites it from the valence band to the conductive band, or excuse me, the conduction band. And the conduction, the part of it, or the fact that it can be excited from the valence band to the conduction band, tells you how much electricity can be conducted or energy transferred in your body. So the more electrons you can get excited from the valence band to the conduction band, the more energy you're going to have, because now you have electrons that are in flow and in conduction with your body's overall system. Like those are electrons that you can now be used for energy instead of just sitting in the valence shell, if that makes sense. So like you're pretty much in simple terms, you're now allowing more energy to be used, which was before just in a stable position.
Mm-hmm. And another topic I want to talk about is your nerve function. In your body, in your nerve cells, neurons are all throughout your body and facilitate responses to certain stimulus. And in your body, there's something called a resting membrane potential, and it's around -70 millivolts. And basically, it's the difference of the neuron on the membrane. The inside of the cell is supposed to be negatively charged, and the positive charge is on the outside of the cell. And how this correlates with water is the easy water, the structured water, has a negative charge. So it's regulating that membrane potential at -70 millivolts so that it can produce a response. Your body needs to stay at that resting membrane potential so that once a stimulus happens, it can shoot up to positive 40 millivolts so that it can produce a response. So what the easy water is kind of doing is regulating that membrane potential which can affect nerve function, your motor functions, and any daily tasks and response to stimulus during the day.
And just to answer the question in the chat, what is the conduction band? I have it pulled up right here just so I don't butcher it. It says the conduction band in the body is pretty much the state in which electrons are freed from their atoms, specifically from the valence band. So like I just said, the band gap energy is the energy needed to take it from that valence band and now make that electron free so that it can be used for energy in the body. So think of the conduction band as setting the electron free. When you send the electron from the valence band to the conduction band, that means you have freed it and it can now be used towards energy purposes.
Yeah.
And let me see. I think we covered.
Oh yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts on the membrane potentials or things like that? Like before you, like.
What do you mean, like relating back to what you just said?
Yeah,
now?
like that. I feel like that's why it's so important to have water associated with our life. Like drinking more water will help with our neurons to fire more responses to stimulus and be more sharp.
Yeah, so that's like pretty much like coordination. So if you're an athlete, you're better able to move. You have much enhanced coordination. You can pretty much like the more optimized your membrane potentials are, that means like the better your nerve conduction and your nerve signals are being transmitted. And then what that means in like practical terms is your mind, your body will kind of be like in sync with your mind. Like it will do exactly what it's supposed to do. You're like, if you take, for example, like a stroke patient, that's when they have usually stroke survivors have a lot of issues with that, and it's a lot of like a neurological issue because they can't get those membrane potentials or those nerves to fire, which results in a loss of function of maybe like usually half of the or one side of their body. But if you're able to optimize it, the better your coordination will be, the better your energy will be, the better your body will be able, and also faster, it will be able to pretty much communicate and interact with itself on like a cell-to-cell basis.
Yeah, exactly. And just how water is, we always get to view, going back to the beginning, how it's just like the background of all production, right? But how you were mentioning, Josh, in the cell membrane potential, right? How a neuron wants to travel from a negative charge of negative 70 MV to a positive 40, right? We can see how water is very important in the process of this neurotransmitter, right? Neurons transmitting from a negative to a positive charge, creating more energy, leading to more productivity, right? And seeing it from that type of view, and it's very important in how nice it is to connecting all the pieces back to what we learned in our biology classes, and how we can see how water is not just at the background, but more of a production system, right? How it's like an energy driver. So it's very nice.
And this kind of conversation kind of like brought light to me, like connecting all these things that they taught us, like you said, taught us in class. And even though a lot of things that they said are not wrong, but some of the things they said you have to take with a grain of salt, you know?
Yeah,
definitely, because like just think of it like what we know currently, or like the paradigm of like what science has taught us already, and what we know can completely change tomorrow. Like all of the concepts that we know, maybe we were possibly viewing it the wrong way all along, and there was a higher level that has been discovered, or a new way that explains for everything that we've already learned. But sometimes it's just inconvenient for people to go back and rewrite those textbooks, have to rewrite all of the information that's been taught for like hundreds and hundreds of years. It's just think of how inconvenient it would be for people to not bring up new information or groundbreaking information, because of all of the things they would have to change. So that's why I'm saying, or that's why we're saying that take everything with a grain of salt, because there might be a whole new viewpoint or theory that completely revolutionizes or changes the way we think about like modern science or medicine or any of these topics right now. So it depends on the future pioneers or the people making further advancements or discoveries, but just know that like everything that we know is not like set in stone law. Like it could change like tomorrow pretty much.
And that's the beauty of like this podcast that we're going over right now, and how we can question the science that we were taught since young, and how we can go over a theory like exclusion zone, and how it's coming into this world, and how we try to explain it, right, and how we try to see medicine evolving right through that. So it's very interesting, and it's important to talk about it. I feel like as a society we lose the importance of socializing and questioning our thoughts, and from questioning like this, learning more about it, right, teaching yourself about it, that's how we evolve, and we grow better in science and in overall humanity.
And if you think about science, it's all based off asking a question. Like all of the things that we know now are just things that they might have thought are true, but eventually after researching and developing ideas, they put it together to make it a fact. So later down the line, I think as we keep going with these podcasts, we can aid to finding new discoveries.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And just to go over the practical takeaways, because I think we covered like almost all of the information that we had planned. But just to give you guys like a recap of some of take home actions you can implement maybe starting tonight or tomorrow, just to help align your environment to your body's needs. So these are some of the ones I'm going to list right now. We might come out with some more, but these are some good ones that I think we've written down right now. So one is getting morning sunlight, especially ultraviolet and infrared sunlight. And like Joshin said, UV is a very demonized, but it actually is what sets the melatonin rhythm for the rest of the day, not just sleeping in the dark. So that's super important. And also, wearing sunscreen is actually like counteractive, because you're now prohibiting the amount of UV that your body is absorbing. And the way you should approach it, and we could go on another episode talking about sunlight, especially UV. Like you have to get used to it, and that's why your body makes melanin. So literally has like a mechanism and process to help protect yourself, but you got to slowly introduce it, especially because our environment now has made us probably like very unimmune towards the sun. So none of us are none of us are used to
sunburn.
it.
And like people that get sunburn, like they think, oh, you got to put sunscreen on to prevent the cancerous things that come from the sun. But there's cancerous chemicals inside of the sunscreen that they're putting on their face to prevent that. Yeah,
definitely. And then the next one is grounding, which pretty much means you're barefoot and connecting with the ground and the earth, usually through like the soil. You could do it with sand if you have a beach nearby, or with grass. And make sure you have no like major power lines running underneath you. The other one is cold exposures. You can do cold showers, or you can walk outside like when it's cold out. It counts as cold exposure as well. It doesn't have to be through like a shower or a cold tub. Getting infrared light or sauna, or using the sauna, like the heat is also infrared light as well. So even though you can't like see it, it actually is still there. Drink mineralized spring water, especially deuterium depleted water. Like I already explained about finding a spring that's in a high altitude and drinking the water from there. Eating DHA rich seafood. Joshin talked a bit about that and what DHA supports as far as membrane functions and interactions with the structured water. Sleeping in total darkness, that has to do with making sure that melatonin is not disturbed at all and that you're getting proper and deep sleep. And then last but not least, limit EMF and blue light exposure, especially in the later hours of the day. Mm-hmm. And yeah, did you guys have any other things you wanted to add?
Yeah, just drink more water. Drink more water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's really more like about the balance, right? And trying to like start off like you don't have to go crazy and like go I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, right? Because that usually leads to like a decline on doing any of it. But starting with the smaller habits, right? So all right, I'm gonna start with the water, right? Or I'm gonna start with just looking outside in the morning, right? Instead of just going straight on my phone. And those small little habits that you do change and all the topics we did talk about will lead to increase of energy and overall better sense of feeling, right, throughout the day.
Yeah, it
So
all
thank
comes from
you.
the mind. Later, your body will just follow. If you correct these habits now, later down the line, you'll find yourself feeling a lot more healthy and happy.
Mm-hmm. And I think like John said, just take it a little bit at a time. See which of these recommendations or take home plans that work for you. Like try it out, see if it works for you. If you have given it some time and you just don't like it, then maybe that's not the thing that's best for you. But at least give each of them a try, because I think they all can really help you in whatever state you are in regarding your health. And yeah, I think this was a really good episode. I think we got into a really good amount of detail while also trying to keep it as practical as we can for you guys, so you guys can actually take home some good information and start implementing some good healthy habits for yourself. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to Jonathan for taking the time out to come here and do the podcast with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was actually very interesting. Like just the simplicity of water, right? And how deep you get into just the topic of water. And it really changes your mind, challenges your mind. And that's the whole importance of science, right? So thank you,
Yeah,
Josh and Sahan, for this opportunity.
thank you. And I really appreciate all the insight you got. Hopefully we can see you in the future too. I think all three of us together it was a fun time for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And Heriberto said finger red number one.
It might be an emoji that he put.
Number one.
Like
The one like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the support. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in with us for today's podcast of Champions of Wellness, and we hope to see you guys on next Monday's podcast. Thank you so much.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.